We've all read it, we've all heard the word. Literary fiction is something we have all encountered in our reading journey. We can all point them out at bookstores or even more often after we finished a book, but when asked why we think it's literary fiction, the question is a lot harder to answer. I've always been curious about what makes a book literary fiction, especially during my time at college when that's like pretty much exclusively what I read in my classes. And I've always been curious why that's what we study, and I really wanted to figure out what the term actually means. I figured I would do a video kind of making a discussion about this and kind of sharing with you my thoughts that I found out through research and kind of just thinking about this topic a lot, and share with you those ideas and kind of get your opinions. I really am excited to see what comes up in the discussion in the comments and just see what you guys think of this word and the kind of debate about what makes good literature. So before I kind of give you the definition that I kind of found out and that I agree with the most, I wanted to share with you some of the common misconceptions, or I guess theories people have, or ideas that people associate with literary fiction. And number one is that only a select group of worthy, typically white male authors are allowed to deem their work worthy of the title literary fiction. And these are also the same group of people that are allowed to judge what is considered literary fiction. Number two, all literary fiction is considered good, and if you are not writing literary fiction, your work is not as good. And lastly, number three, literary fiction is considered more serious or has to be sad. So those are kind of the ideas that I've thought myself at some point, and I know other people have thought about literary fiction, so I just wanted to put those out there because I think that they raise a lot of questions about what I'm going to bring up, and I will bring these ideas up later in the video. So I just wanted to put those out there. If you agree with them, that's cool. If you don't, that's great too. I just wanted to share with you some of the kind of debate going around what literary fiction is. So as I was searching for a definition of what literary fiction actually is, I kind of realized that there really isn't one concrete definition, and that's why I think there is a lot of debate around this topic. I was able to kind of find a really great definition that I believe to be accurate and the best description of what I think literary fiction is, and it's actually from Wikipedia. And this is kind of the definition that I'm most biased to, so there's that too. According to Wikipedia, literary fiction involves social commentary, political criticism, or focuses on the human condition. The stories tend to be introspective and are more character-driven rather than plot-driven. So this is the definition that I am going to use as the kind of foundation of this video, and it kind of sets up some great questions that I have, like, why is literary fiction, if this is the definition that we're going to use, why is literary fiction so esteemed over other fiction forms? And my last question is, who gets to determine what is considered literary fiction? So ultimately, in the fiction world, you have the spectrum of literary fiction, which is, you know, the good writing. It wins a lot of awards. It tends to be classified as something that's better written. And then you also have on the other spectrum, which is more genre fiction, popular fiction, or commercial fiction, which tends to be more like your sci-fi, or what just a majority of readers pick up when they're wanting something enjoyable to read. These books tend to get looked down upon because they may not be written as well. They are not accepted as great works of fiction. So I was always curious why we have these two kind of different groups of fiction, because personally I don't really see there's that much distinction. And there is an article that I will link down below from the New Yorker that really kind of talks about this. It uses Station 11, which I have not read yet, but it uses that book as a kind of example how Station 11 is on some levels considered literary fiction, but it also delves into the range of other genres like sci-fi, dystopian. So it's kind of making a commentary on genres in general. And it's like, if we can have this overlapping, is there really even a need for the distinction between the two? Because I think we try to determine literary fiction as a type of genre, But ultimately, every book, I believe, falls into the literary fiction spectrum. I believe every author is either, in some respects, trying to comment on social norms or political ideas or even just the human condition. So I'm curious as to why we have to have this distinction. Obviously, when you're talking about your commercial fiction or your popular genre fiction, they tend to be more plot-driven stories. They have adventure, action, and they tend to be considered more interesting for the reader on an enjoyable standpoint. But I don't feel like they're any better or worse than what we consider to be literary fiction. They are appealing to a different audience, perhaps. I feel like literary fiction obviously isn't as a popular genre as the other genres out there. It's more so for writers and deep thinkers, and I feel like it's a more, I don't know how to describe it, but you're reading to gain learning and understanding. But I feel like you can do that with genre fiction as well. And I just don't know if we even need the distinction between what is literary fiction and what is regular fiction. And I think if we're going to keep literary fiction as something that is esteemed, that it's for those really great writers out there, it doesn't need to be a genre. It needs to be more so a category, I guess. I feel like sticking people in the genre of literary fiction is a little shady. I don't know how else to describe it. I feel like it's kind of limiting readers. Like, I only read, literary fiction as a way to show that they're better than other people. And it's a small group of writers that kind of get to be in this category, and I don't think that is fair as well. I just feel like books are books. They are all trying to achieve something, whether that's to give the reader an enjoyable experience, take them away from their daily worries, or whether that's to show them something about what's going on in life currently. And I think all fiction does that. I don't think an author doesn't aspire to some kind of one of those 3 points that I mentioned earlier about what literary fiction is. I feel like every author is aspiring to achieve at least one of those ideas. And I feel like even YA and young adult contemporary novels, they're trying to show us the human condition. Instead of judging the basis of how good a book is based on the genre or the category that we place it in, we should really judge each book individually based on what's inside the book and not how it's been categorized. So these are kind of the issues that I have brought up and want to talk to you about. So what do you guys think? Do you even think that we need this category of literary fiction, or if it should just be all fiction? And I'm really curious to see what you guys think, or what are your opinions? Do you read literary fiction? Do you enjoy it? Do you feel like it is better than popular fiction or genre fiction? Or do you feel like there's good and bad in both categories? So yeah, please share with me your opinions and ideas in the comments below. I'm really excited to see what you guys have to say, and I will see you guys next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.